You did it. Yay.
Yay. Welcome to the December meeting of the Western North Carolina Linux Users Group in Asheville, North Carolina. So we're going to, I don't think we have anything specific planned. I may talk about some things I have going on, which may involve a screen share. We'll see. But I guess we're going to go around the room and talk about what we got going on. Arnold has already shared a couple links about Crucial shutting down its operation, basically moving its consumer, the consumer side of Micron to the AR market. Basically, is what I'm getting from this. By quickly, I guess it's more lucrative for them to sell directly and avoid the whole consumer world of expenses. So that's a bad thing for us who like to buy things that have RAM.
Yeah.
And I've actually been looking at a couple computer purchases myself and not happy with the prices.
Hey, Brent, check out Walmart. Walmart has a lot of refurbished computers. I just bought one from them. It's a Dell. I think it's about 3 years old with 512 meg of memory, 256 gig of memory, 512 megabyte solid state drive, refurbished like new. There's not one scratch on it. And it's got the special chip, so it'll run Windows 11, which I needed to run my TurboTax. I'm really happy. Check out Walmart for laptops.
What did they sell it for, Pete?
I think it was $250, which, yeah, good price. Plus $20 tax. Shipping was free. So, yeah.
I just bought a Crucial SSD.
Probably got one of the last they'll sell to a consumer.
Yeah.
You could tell them you're really an AI character, and maybe they'll sell.
Yeah. Right.
Unless you're buying thousands of them, I don't think they're going to listen.
Probably.
Yeah.
All right.
As we have been saying, money talks.
I am going to, take it easy for a couple minutes. I usually wait until 10 after the hour. So getting live streaming going didn't take quite as long as I thought it might have.
On the subject of AI stuff, I just heard that Georgia Power is planning on putting like an enormous amount of money into expanding their capacity for power, and most of that drive is coming from data centers, and which are going to be using AI and all that. And I'm wondering whether it's going to be another situation where the small consumer ends up funding these huge data centers, or whether some justice might actually creep into the scenario there, so that they would be responsible for generating the power that they need to run their heavy power consuming operations. Just my question, nothing more.
All right. Well, it is 10 after the hour, so I think anyone who's likely to be here is probably here. So we've been talking to Gene a bit, so let's continue on with that. What have you been doing, Gene?
Oh, just a user, but I did notice that the new version of Ubuntu, the 2604, is going to be released in April of next year. And that's the long-term release, which is the one I have been using now for gosh knows how long. But it gets 10 years of support, 5 years of updates, and then another 5 years of extended maintenance. It's going to use GNOME 50, which if everybody remembers Dave DeGraff, he was a GNOME hater.
Was
Oh gosh, yeah. Anything that wasn't command line, he
well,
hated. But they say that there's going to be some legacy tools that go away, and they're going to try to monkey with Unity, which I've never used. Has anybody ever used Unity? I've never messed with it. And then, of course, there's always the question of the desktop, and somehow Wayland gets mentioned in all of that. And there again, I've never really had much to do with Wayland. I don't really know what they do. So Arnold says, yes, Unity sucks. Another precinct heard from. It's going to be called Resolute Raccoon, which, Pete, I love your T-shirt there. I have T-shirt envy.
that was from one of our in-person meetings at that coffee shop we used to go to.
Oh yeah.
And some woman that was really high up in one of the Ubuntu organizations brought a whole stack of these shirts and gave them out for free at the meeting.
Ah.
So I would bet there's a few more hanging around in closets.
The derivatives Mint and
That's
and
what
all that. I use XFCE, but all the Ubuntu lump, different flavors of Ubuntu. I don't know if you totaled them all up, if it would be the most popular distro out there, or if something else would supersede it. I just don't know. But it's there again. It's the one I've settled on. I use XFCE. They call it Xubuntu or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just seems to work for me. And there again, I'm just basically interested in using. I don't have a bone to pick with any kind of. I'm not a true believer. I don't mind System D. I don't know what Wayland is. If I'm using it, then it works. Then I'm happy. And if it doesn't, then I, at that point, might search around and do something else. But as long as whatever they choose to be part of it, and I know some people too have bugs about Canonical. The fact that Canonical is behind Ubuntu, and they do make money somehow. I don't know that they make any money off of me, but they are in business to make money, I guess. I guess by selling, what everybody else does, selling your data, selling your whatever you're using. To advertisers or whatever. I don't see a lot of ads coming over my Linux boxes, so I don't know if they've latched onto me or if I'm too small a fish to be filleted. So anyway, and The only other thing, I just said I did buy a Crucial SSD and put it in in this computer actually. This is a Dell Latitude E6530, and I've been using all of my hardware pretty much except for one computer is old. So I can see how, Pete, a company could take an older computer that was refurbishable and jam a new chip in there, as long as the motherboard and all that would stand it, and then turn around and resell it for although it's used, for a great price. I mean, $250 for anything today is pretty amazing.
Yep.
So that's pretty much it for me, I guess, unless anybody wants to comment or question what I've been spouting out.
Gene, you raised the question of what does Canonical do, and the AI built into Brave, it's turned over from a search engine browser to an AI browser, and it says that Canonical it's centered on the development and promotion of the Ubuntu operating system, generating revenue primarily through the sale of technical support and professional services for open source software.
Okay.
And so it sounds like it's Red Hat not on steroids, because Red Hat really, it seems to me Canonical, what they produce and maintain as an operating system, an open source operating system, it's far more open and more easily adapted by other distribution groups. And that's why I say it's like Red Hat not on steroids, but I'm sure they have customers that just want secure technical support.
Well, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about the people who use servers and would probably need more tech support than somebody like me. I mean, the other thing I forgot to bring up is that last month Bill Smith was trying to update or to back up his computer using rsync. And we had some communication back and forth. Did anybody else talk to Bill about that? We had some communication back and forth. He couldn't get rsync to work. It would back up the directories, but it wouldn't go down a level. In other words, the main directories, which I'm not even sure if those aren't. Well, anyway. But he was using KDE. I think, Rusty, do you use KDE?
Yes,
Yeah.
Kubuntu,
yeah. I think that's what Bill was using, because there again, I think he's into either music or some kind of design software or something that Kubuntu excels at. But somewhere along the line, anyway, failure, and then finally success. But success only came when he uninstalled his Kubuntu and then reinstalled it. So he had picked up a bug or something somewhere that was not letting rsync work the way rsync is supposed to work. So we went round and round for maybe 4 or 5 days there, trying to get him able to do a backup. And he is about as much a newbie as me. So, it was two idiots fighting it out. Anyway.
Was he running this as root, or was he running this as his user?
first, at first, I thought that was the problem. So I sent him my script, which involves sudo, and he tried that, and it still didn't work. So it was something. He said, just as soon as he reinstalled it, it worked. So I'm assuming, maybe wrongly, I'm assuming that it was somewhere in his install or in his OS. I don't know. I never had hands on, never saw the output, Brent, but I was hoping he'd be at the meeting today.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
It is. But I'm sure that there are things out there, and could have been a virus. Who knows? They some viruses interfere with, but rsync is such a basic part of the Linux puzzle, and I mean it's prevalent in all distros, right? I mean it was probably part of Linus's original stuff. So I don't know why anybody would want to interfere with that, but who knows? But anyway, I thought I'd throw that in too, because that did have to do with Linux.
Well, thanks, Gene. Anything else?
I think that does it.
All right, Rusty.
He's muted. Oh,
Well, I continue to be working with graphical user interfaces as my main chore. To learn how to operate QGIS, a Geographic Information System software. And the thing I added to it is Inkscape, which is basically like an Adobe tool for labeling and symbols that might be used in diagrams and maps. And I'm going through all of this to back up some writing. So if you include anything in a paper where you got to explain things with pictures or diagrams, you need these tools, and it's really worthwhile material. I don't know where someone's got me. Steve, maybe check if you have a beep. Okay, everyone. Well, it disappeared, whatever it was. So this experience of working with these two softwares has really been, it's thrown me into the arms of AI. And it's so interesting working with AI as your teacher. And AI, at least Gemini, really does have an organized understanding of the, you might say, an understanding of the coding that underlies each of these softwares. In the case of QGIS, we went off on a tangent and composed scripts to do diagrams from the QGIS LiDAR data that I had loaded as a surface model. And instead of using the plugin tools that are written in Python for QGIS, we just basically composed our own scripts to do the equivalent of a plugin the way I wanted it. It's a strange experience because you're calling the shots in terms of identifying the that you're getting the right outcome, and you understand enough of the data management and the back end database system, and just simple principles of what an array is, what is a multi-dimensional array, how is the array being parsed by a program loop to to the correct endpoint. But really, the AI is doing the heavy lifting, and just giving you sort of like a guided tour as it composes the next line of code, and you're witnessing the end result and saying, check, that's okay for me, let's go with it. And it's just been a fascinating experience to go through this. And I'll have to say that learning other GUI tools, like for CAD, I realized the way that I've learned software, say like for SketchUp or some of my earlier CAD, I probably left whole areas of the tools unused or underutilized. And because of the teaching or just the well-organized explanations that come by way of AI, it causes me to wake up to certain capabilities in a software that I think I would otherwise have skated over and totally missed. So I just find the AI to be really, if you compare it to being in your wood shop or any other place, it becomes more than a tool in your toolkit. It becomes like a working partner that is there. And I'll have to say, I've discussed this with the AI agent multiple times, how the intelligence is operating off of this mass of language explanations, and yet the AI has not experienced a visual interface, but is able to, if you pose questions using a language model, you get an answer with a language model. So if you say, where is the icon that represents transforming the data, in with a move or whatever, it will say, well, the icon looks like a square with a diagonal slash, or it'll give a geographic explanation, even though the AI does not have a GUI sitting in front of it that it's looking at. It's not like having a visual partner who sees the world as you see, but if you're willing to explain your world in words, you get an answer in words, and it's very helpful. It's very tedious to have to be using words, when with a human partner at the screen, you would be looking at the screen and you would point with your finger and say, there is what I see. But instead you have to say in words what you see. And it reminds me of, it's sort of, you feel like you're with Helen Keller, meaning that you're dealing with a well-organized intelligence, but not. Well, that's a great tune.
There, Brent.
Coming from. So that's my experience. As the winter goes on, my next step after I finish this writing project is I'm going to move back to try to learn Blender all over again, because I've already worked some with Blender, but I didn't have AI assistance. So I'm hoping that AI will really be helpful on that software. And in closing, well, I'm not doing anything special with Linux, but I really look at our group as just a place for sharing computer experience. And the open source world is just phenomenal to me, the tools. If we got into music, sound management, music composition, photography, I don't know what it could be, astronomy, some of the things that Leander has dealt with. It's just an amazing world, and to have this venue to just throw out what's happening is, as long as we stay somewhat organized, I think our topical material can really vary a lot. I don't know if we could ever be structured enough to be like a repository of, really, academic excellence, or but it's just great to be able to talk about what we're experiencing in this group.
Hey, Rusty, I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you get into Gemini?
Oh, Gemini is just it's just under the Google domain. It's just like any other Google service. It's a gemini.google.com.
Gotcha.
And of course, Gemini is offered as a paid version. And if I look back at the chats that I've since just, I guess, starting back, it's mostly a year, it is all over the map. It's just an amazing, like discussions about capacitor polarity, fixing my a radial arm saw, operating Google Sheets, and online Google Office tools, point clouds, and converting mesh databases, LibreOffice, what is IMAP email client behavior, looking for Odoo certified developers on a project, rebooting my Moto G phone, I rescuing my iPad 4 from oblivion, as it has been abandoned in its support by
Apple.
I could just go on. It just you have a tax topic, and all I can say is that it exposes you to a fire hose of information. You still have to sort through it. So in some ways, it is the experience of just having a search tool that will go out there and cast a big net and filter through the net to pick out the fish or the particular edibles that you want in the net. as opposed to search that, you know, that's just a keyword search that where you have to pick out, you know, what you want to eat and what you don't want to eat. That's another sort of metaphor.
Is there a free version available?
I'm using the free version.
Oh,
And,
okay.
It's a good way to sell something if it's competent. When I look back at all of the help that I have received, if I were informed right now that that we're going to have a revolving door, first in, first out, we're going to start removing your chat histories, you know, because of data space or whatever reason, I would be buying my my paid service immediately.
Really?
But I'm just floating along on the unpaid service. And the other thing that would cause me to move to paid service, if I actually heard how they had, how Gemini would incorporate changes in its service structure that is offered only to the paid members, because you can imagine there's an army of programmers behind this that are changing. As a matter of fact, you can detect changes in the style of this service over time, and the problem is you're not actively communicating with any human directly over an issue that you detect in the service. And if I knew that there was a channel where you could gain the ear of the programmers that are behind the language model and the service model, if I knew that you joined an insider club that allowed you to directly reach a human in the programming staff, I would move to paid service for sure, because you can discuss these things with AI, but you have no way of knowing whether or not the thing you're discussing about the AI service is actually given any kind of priority. You don't know, like out of the thousands of users, you don't know how many users collectively are knocking on the door with the same issue or the same improvement or complaint. And you know, that's the problem with all it's a problem with all commercial software. With open source, you can go to the direct programming community and you can learn what's being sort of changed or improved. But with a closed source model, you really don't know which things they've moved to priority and which they're you know, raising the level. I'd like to hear what others I mean, I've gone off on this tangent about AI, but I'm really interested to hear what anyone else is using. Or so that's enough for me.
Anyone have any quick responses to Rusty? Steve? Can't hear you. I got nothing but the beeps.
You're beeping, Steve.
Go ahead and mute yourself again if you can. Thank you. While Steve figures that out, Rusty, my experience with AI, I've been sort of reluctant. I mean, I hear a lot of bad things about AI, and I don't really, especially in the generative realm. I think as a research tool, it's essentially a search engine. We don't generally complain about search engines, and I don't really complain about AI in that role. And I do use it from time to time. Again, it's not Steve, you're beeping again. Let me mute you here. Okay. So when I do use it, I usually use it as like a backup when I hit a wall in researching something and trying to figure something out. Partly because it just doesn't occur to me because it's not in my normal workflow. We do have an AI portal that we use at work that allows us to do things without being, I mean, we still are cognizant of not sending like patient data or things like that. But if someone in our organization did include problematic data, theoretically it would be scrubbed before sending it on to the actual AI engines. So I'll sometimes ask it about a problem I'm having, and usually, if nothing else, it's like bouncing ideas off a person. Maybe they're mostly telling you stuff you already know, but maybe there'll be a nugget in there that's just a slightly different way of looking at it, something that you haven't occurred of, because you're
It's on.
Steve.
Yeah.
Okay, your sound
Sound
quality.
quality.
You got echo.
Echo.
But
But
at least
at
we
least
can
we
hear
can
it through you.
hear you.
I'm going to mute
I'm
you
gonna
because
mute you.
this is pretty bad.
Great.
Sorry, I muted you because it was not quite tolerable.
It's showing he's got a really weak signal. With the,
Yeah, you're making progress because other than the echo, you were at least getting audio
and no beeps.
and no beeps, which is good because the beeps were really bad.
Oh, there you go. Now you've got green.
All right, let's see if he's any better. Well, I can't unmute you. You'll have to unmute yourself. I can ask you to unmute.
You're still muted.
Still muted. Apparently I hit the mute button real hard.
Does that make a difference what you did?
It's still echoey.
Yeah, I'm trying to fix it using something here, so that's why I was covering up the screen. So I'll stay muted for a while, and I'll play with that, and then ultimately I'll either email or get back in time to make a comment about that. Okay?
I understood most of that.
Good. Oops.
Okay, thank you for muting again. Yeah, it would the sound quality is bad, and like I said, the echo makes it even worse.
It sounds like you're overdriving your mic.
Yeah, that sounds right. Okay, any other responses? We'll try to circle back to Steve on his response, if we can. All right. Before I forget, Bill, I believe someone mentioned your challenges with rsync. Do you want to talk about that and anything else you got going on?
Mute button here. There we go. With rsync, I found out that the Trixie had been corrupted somehow. I reloaded the system and everything is working correctly. I also had to reload the system in my desktop computer, and I don't know what Trixie is doing wrong, how she's getting corrupted, but if it gets corrupted again, I might have to switch to a different operating system or a different distro.
Is this newer hardware, older hardware?
This is a fairly new laptop that I have. The desktop is a little older.
Are they spinning drives or SSDs or a mix?
I don't know what's in the um, laptop. The desktop is a spinner.
Okay. Have you looked at your smart logs to see if maybe you're running against data corruption of some variety?
No, I haven't.
Well,
Don't know
that's
how to
one thing
do
that
that.
stands out as hardware issues. Beyond that, it's a bit of a head scratcher the way it was described. Just like you basically lost permissions to a good part of your file system. Is that what seemed to happen?
Apparently,
Brent, how would you access your smart info?
Um,
I can think of one way. With Xubuntu, it comes with a GUI called disks, so you can check that, and then when you look at your drives, one of the top level options is check smart info, but there are probably other ways of accessing smart info.
yeah.
I,
I've
I,
got. Excuse me. I've got disks also installed here, so I'll take a look at that.
Yeah.
Thank you,
yeah,
Gene.
I generally use a rescue ISO and the tools in there. Not that I probably have to, but when I'm doing dedicated like data recovery stuff, I'm usually using that anyway. So that's when I'm looking at it. It's the tool in there. It's basically the distro I have. It's a paid distro. It's turned into paid, and I think I bought. It's like one of the few open source things I've actually put money towards. And yeah, it's called Parted Magic. Um, but I just have an old version on a USB stick somewhere. So what else you got going on, Bill?
That's about it. Um, I'm not doing a whole lot with it. Just just using it.
Me too.
All right. Um, well, Arnold, as always, is without a microphone. But hi, Arnold. What did he have to say for us? Well, you know, the stuff about SSDs and RAM and crucial. If you didn't look at those links, I suggest you do. Not good news for us who like to buy computer things. Larry, what do you have going on? And he says nothing new otherwise. Sorry, Larry.
I don't have a whole lot new, not really about Linux. Um, One thing I did for Thanksgiving, I have a pretty old, I guess you'd say obsolete um, tablet that I've been using, at least get some email on it. And I had the kind of amazing to me that it's still working considering the age of the thing. It's a pan digital tablet. But the, uh, the charging cord on it actually broke or came apart. So how do you charge the thing? Well, it has a round charging board. It's not nowadays. It seems like everybody has USB style connectors for charging on most devices like that, tablets or phones, whatever. But this thing had a pin right in the center of a round type connector, and then the pin came off, so you couldn't connect anything to it. All you need is two wires, though, a plus and a minus. So I'd taken this thing apart before, and somehow I was able to solder a couple wires inside of it and then get the wires out so I could do whatever kind of connection I want to it. And I've been able to charge it with that, with two black and white wire coming out. But So I used to do some work on circuit boards that were large enough. All this stuff is so small now, like tablets, phones, and lots of other small things that seems to me they're kind of cheaply made and easy to break, don't last very long, and so forth. They're hard to solder on something so small. Maybe with some AI research or Google or whatever, figure out how to do some soldering on micro soldering, I guess. But can't make my hands any smaller. My fingers are too big to work on this stuff. Need Chinese hands, I think. Anyway, I'm pretty happy about still keeping this tablet, which probably ought to throw away and buy get something newer. But that's about one of the things sort of computer related I've been doing. Everything else is sort of personal business. Anything to do with computers. So, but anybody is interested. I mean, I think it's not uncommon for charging ports to get broken, but if you keep plugging in, after a while, this small stuff will break. USB connectors, small ones, micro, whatever. So, if anybody, I mean, you throw the thing away and buy something new, it's probably what you're supposed to do anyway. So that's about it for me for right now.
Well, it's very satisfying when you can sort of delay the march of stuff to the landfill.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, I have so much old stuff, and somehow I managed to keep a lot of it going. Maybe more than most people, because I try. Some people, I mean, I don't know if it's worth trying sometimes. It takes so much time. I mean, I spent a lot of time looking at it and trying to figure out exactly how I was going to solder something onto this connector. It wasn't easy. And then I have to have a lot of patience and time and feel like doing it too, which is not a good combination for somebody like me these days. So anyway, I'll quit on that for right now.
Well, good work. Steve, how are things going? We cannot hear you. All right, so we will move on from Steve. How about Alan? What do you got going on? I can't hear you, Alan. Do you have a hardware mute on your mic? Sure. You're not showing muted. I know one thing that gets me all the time is the little button on my headset. Wait, heard something there for a second. I don't know who that was.
Nothing?
Oh, I got you. We got you. It's noisy, but we got you.
Okay, too loud or should I lower it?
It's workable. It's a little loud though.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
All right, sorry about that. I've had continuing problems with the sound adapter in the computer. Anyway, I installed a new version of Linux Mint on an old laptop computer. Very successful. I was amazed that it revived such an old computer, and it's performing a little slow than I would like, but it's definitely a useful machine. The other thing I wanted to talk about today is I installed Tailscale, which is a VPN that runs over WireGuard, and I am just so impressed with this product. And they have both a free version for personal use as well as several paid plans. And what this allows someone to do is you install Tailscale, and it installs pretty simply. The instructions are on the tailscale.com website, and they've got various applications for Linux and Windows and Android and etc. But anyway, I installed it just using the suggested command line scripts. Installed perfectly. You have to authenticate using. I use Google, my Gmail account to authenticate. That went very well. But you can use just a regular email account and a password if you wish. Now, what Tailscale allows me to do that solved a big problem I was having is I needed to remotely access a router over the internet, and I was accessing some of the devices on that router using port forwarding, which works, but it's kind of clumsy, and because you have to be on the local area network to set up the port forwards. And the old router that I used to have, you had remote administration where you could actually just communicate with the router and make any configuration changes that you wanted. Well, they've locked down the routers where they no longer easily allow remote administration. This particular router is a Netgear router, and you have to go through their cloud service, which really didn't work too well for me. But by using Tailscale, I installed the Tailscale client on my local laptop, and then I installed a second client on a Raspberry Pi, single board computer. And when you attach the Raspberry Pi to the remote router, you can configure it to advertise the routes available on the remote side. So now I can just start up Tailscale. You can bring it up, you can bring it down, and I can open a web browser and actually see the graphical user interface, the web interface of the router, which I wasn't able to before. So it solved my problem, and in reading the applications for Tailscale software, check it out. I think you'll be impressed, and I found it extremely useful. And the only thing I haven't figured out, and I'm still learning this, is I can SSH, I can secure shell into that Raspberry Pi, and then since it's on that other local area network, I can ping and communicate with my other devices on that remote network. What I haven't figured out is how to browse files on that network, on those devices. And Tailscale has several features like share and grant that permit that, but I haven't gotten to that yet. Anyway, that's pretty much, I've been happy with Tailscale. I've also been researching and playing around with various cryptocurrencies, which in order just to explore and really limit my losses, I put $20 into a Phantom wallet, and I bought some Solana, which is one of the three big cryptocurrencies, and just to see how it works. That went, it was very easy. The Solana was in my wallet. It also shows you the dollar value of the cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana. Well, as soon as I bought the thing, like the next day, the whole crypto market collapsed. I mean, you look at the chart, it's like straight down. Bitcoin went from over 100,000 down to 80-some thousand at one point. and so did Solana, but it's bounced back a little bit. But it's been fun playing with cryptocurrencies. Just be careful. And the main reason I wanted to get into cryptocurrencies is because I wanted to develop what's called a meme coin. Meme coins are actual form. It's a token, a form of cryptocurrency that you can easily create, and it's based on some kind of idea. You know, that it could be originally it was like a joke, like the Doge coins and the Trump coin is a meme coin. But anyway, more I got into this thing, I just there's a website called pump.fun.com that explains how to do it, and there's many other sites where you can develop your own meme coins, and but in order to make them acceptable in the marketplace, get people to actually buy your meme coin, you've got to add some liquidity to a liquidity pool, and that involves some real money. So I haven't created a meme coin yet, but I just thought I'd mention it as a fun thing for you all to explore. There is a good website called Dex Screener, DEX-Screener.com. You can look up all the cryptocurrencies, and it's got charting and other analysis. So that's a good thing just to explore if you're interested in looking at cryptocurrencies. Anyway, that's all I got to say.
Alan, is Tailscale, is it a VPN or is it doesn't sound like it is.
It definitely is. It's a VPN that runs using WireGuard, which is another form of VPN. It creates an overlay network. So your base network would be like your router and all the devices attached to it. That's like the hardware infrastructure. Well, Tailscale and the other VPNs are overlaid on top of that, and they provide various routing utilities to allow basically you to communicate with a remote local area network and actually be able to operate as if you're on that network locally. And it's very secure, encrypted end to end. And Tailscale.com has an excellent website and sample use cases. It's been around for a while, and I just discovered it to solve the need I had, and I am highly impressed with all the things you can do with Tailscale. Remote access to all your devices.
All right, thanks, Alan. Let's see what Pete's got going on.
Okay. Let me get my volume up a little. It's not working.
Pete, can you hear Pete?
Hello.
As you, whatever you changed, Pete, do you have an aquarium running in your home?
I do not. I don't eat fish.
There's a background that, Pete, when you did some change that you just motioned, something about your sound system, this background gurgling sound disappeared. So I thought, well, maybe someone has a sensitive microphone and it's picking up an aquarium that has a little. It sounds like it's gone now, but when it was operating, it sounded like either an aquarium or a fountain, a tabletop fountain.
Well,
What I do-
Pete's in Florida, so you're never far away from water in Florida.
That's true.
It did coincide with Alan going back on mute. So Alan, do you want to unmute and see if that makes noise come back? Doesn't seem to be. Wait, I got a little bit of background noise. Is that what you heard?
Yeah, there's another sound that is more like static. Alan, during your entire time, it seemed like your microphone was fuzzy or like you were in a chamber of some sort with muted, Alan, but we cannot hear you. Oh, that's it. That's trouble.
It doesn't really sound like a gurgle to me, but yeah, it is. It's definitely a very machiney sort of noise. Probably like a
Vacuum cleaner?
computer. Yeah, like maybe a computer fan if it's close to whatever mic he's got.
It happened when Alan pulled down his earphones. When he pulled down his earphones, some other microphones started picking up feedback.
All right. Well, mystery mostly solved. All right, Pete, what you got going on?
Okay.
I'm going to mute everyone else.
So I headed down here to Florida about a month ago, the end of October. And I have to thank everybody for my fiber to the home that you provided me in my rural, underserved area on top of a mountain. I got so addicted to 200 megabits up and down compared to my Skyrunner fixed wireless at 5, if it was doing okay. However, when I got down here, it was a shock because I use my cell phone as a wireless hotspot, and that's kind of iffy. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. And it was very frustrating. So I got an ad or something from T-Mobile that they sell a T-Mobile wireless hotspot, and it's actually free. All you have to do is sign up for a T-Mobile account. They give you the free wireless hotspot, and I believe it's $55 a month, unlimited data. And if you have it paid automatically, they take $5 off. So I'm paying $50 a month. I get, what do I get speed wise? I think I get roughly 100 to 150 down. Up is kind of crummy. It's only about 20 megabit, but it's still very usable. No spinning wheels. I can watch Netflix on my TV. Heartland, the second time around, 17 seasons worth. I really am happy that I think the price is reasonable, $50 a month. They give you the hotspot for free, I think. I don't think you have to give it back if you terminate it, but I wanted to let everybody, make everybody aware of that, depending if you're struggling with your internet. And I think, yep, I'm showing green, and I'm showing 100 and, what am I showing? Bit rate, 587 kilobits on Jitsi, which is pretty good, 585. It looks like it's doing pretty good to me. Linux wise, I just use my Linux desktop as my Linux machine to try to keep up with all the changes, and I'm very reluctant. I'm running Mint 22.0, I think. And I'm really reluctant to update because every time I update, it breaks something, and it takes me forever, and it's a big learning experience to try to get it going again. So I'm not on the cutting. I think Mint 22.1 is the latest, but I'm not sure even about that. So I think that's it. Yep, that's it for me. Back to you, Brent.
Any responses to Pete?
T-Mobile.
Pete, what is Heartland?
Heartland is a series on Netflix that was produced in Canada. It's about a young woman who grows up on a ranch up outside of Alberta or somewhere up in Canada. When it started, she was 22 years old, and then you go for 17 years. She's now 40 something. You watch her grow up as the series keeps on going. There's 10 to 15 episodes every year times 17. It's all about horses. She's on a ranch in Canada that takes care of abused and sick and troublesome horses, both wild and domestic, I guess. But it's more about her family. The whole family is there, from grandpa down to little tiny kids that you watch along with her. It's quite a good family.
Sounds interesting, yeah.
Yeah, especially if you like horses. I learned so much about horses. I can't believe it. So, okay, Brett.
All right. Thanks, Pete. Steve, let's check in on you and see if we got your problem solved with your headset there.
How is any noise coming out now, including my voice?
Your voice.
The voice is good. It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I have to remember to always use the headset from now on. There are things I don't understand. I use Pavu with Pipewire, and obviously there are things I don't understand when it comes to setting it up. I'm looking at it, and there's input devices, and it keeps referring to monitor choices, and rather than the headset itself. But I think the headset was one of the input choices that I finally found. So at any rate, I'm satisfied to just let it be right now.
It's working good.
Okay. Well, there's two things. First, my only comment about AI is that I think of it at the moment as a religious thing from one aspect. You either believe that these are good things or you think they ought to be avoided. So it's either the God or the devil. And I'm in the favor of considering it the devil. So at the moment, I don't want to touch these things. I think they are being anything you use with an AI, I think is being sucked up by the AI. And I don't really feel like encouraging that. Also, I don't believe it's intelligent because we don't even know, we don't even understand human when we talk about intelligence. And there's not a lot of that goes around anyway, even when it tries to look intelligent. So that's my religious rant. As to Linux, I'm a couple of things. One is Debian has come out with a new version fairly recently. I think it's called Trixie, and a number of popular distros tend to feed off Debian. So I actually have a question, which maybe at the end when I speak, people will respond. For those people using Ubuntu, Mint, or other what I consider Debian derivatives, are they noticing that there's a major version coming out as opposed to a point version fairly closely in proximity to the Debian update? So that's a question. Also, just to mention that recently, for anybody printing and using cups to print with, it was interesting that there was an update to cups
Uh-oh.
that
Broke
interfered with printing from GTP applications, but allowed printing through Qt applications. So that's interesting. I'm waiting for that to be. It's been sent out as a fix by Debian, the fix to the last update. But I'm waiting for the no systemd version, which occurs after the Debian fix occurs. There'll be a fix for that. Otherwise, I am, because of the problem with printing, it made me aware that on one of my installs, I just have most of the stuff I have ultimately uses GTP to get to printing. So I wanted to print something on that. I don't usually print on that machine. I wanted to print something, so I eventually resorted to LPR, which means from the command line, I had to then find out that I had to set up a printer using another LP thing, and that was oh God, just a second. We get a lot of spam, so let me see what this is. I can try. Oh, 1 second. Kim, can I call you back? I'm in the middle of a meeting. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're just a popular guy, Steve.
Yeah, well, that's a daughter. And she's a very thoughtful daughter. We're both undergoing various medical kind of issues. And so she's doubled up on her usual twice a day calls. Anyway, otherwise, life goes on as usual. So that's what I have in the Linux world. Oh, wait, I forgot. What I was going to say was, anybody have a recommendation for a text program like LeafPad, but one that uses Qt and is that might be available to me, or even available if I had to create it? There's one that's a Python-based thing that looked like it was easy to do, but then when I suggested it, a fellow on the Antics forum who's very, very experienced, having a professional background, tried to install it and found it wouldn't. So I guess you can't trust all the advertisers. Anyway, that's all I got.
Steve,
Yes.
I've used Mousepad. I don't know if that's available.
I don't think I saw that. Mousepad, I thought was okay. Yeah, I'll have to look at that. I don't think I saw that in our repos.
Oh, it's Leander says it's GTK.
Oh, okay.
So that's out. And I was telling people that the new version of Ubuntu, 2604, the long-term release, long-term support release, is coming out in April. So I don't know how that corresponds with the Debian stuff.
Well, the Debian, I believe, is out now.
Yeah.
And then the other, the other
well,
distributions.
It works off of Debian. So
yeah,
I guess it will incorporate the new
yeah,
Debian distro into it.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah.
Any other answers or questions for Steve?
If you're looking for a good Qt editor, Kate, that's when I used to run KDE all the time, is really good. It's more full featured. It's probably closer to Visual Studio Code, which I don't really use because whoever decided a JavaScript text editor was a good idea needs to be drug out in the street and shot. But Kate's pretty speedy. It's got a lot of features, but it's also it's got a lot of different themes if you want like a dark theme or a light theme. But yeah, that would be my Qt text editor choice.
Yeah, I think I've heard about Kate. I don't do KDE, and I don't do it. On this machine, this is a SID machine, which in Debian language is their unstable version, and it's minimalistic. And so I don't think I can easily do that without adding a lot of stuff. But
Kate, I'm not
maybe
sure.
I'm wrong.
Kate is Qt written. I'm not sure. I used it on GTK based desktops, and I think you have to have the basic Qt themes and stuff installed. But
Yeah,
I
I
don't
do
think
have
it's
that.
I think if you've got the Qt basics, it'll work. I think that's only like somewhere between 20 and 50 megabytes of libraries and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's as long as it doesn't require that I install KDE altogether,
No,
and it
it's
can
just
come in as an isolated app, I'm certainly willing to look at it. Yeah.
you could
Thanks.
use it. I've used it on XFCE. I've used it on GNOME. I guess you probably just don't get all of the fancy file browser integrations and stuff with those desktops that you would if you had a full KDE desktop.
Yeah, this is just open box.
Yep. So, but it is probably the best Qt based text editor.
Oh, great. And it incorporates printing, right?
I've never printed from it, but it does have a print option.
Okay, good.
I think so. Yes, print,
Well,
export, print. Yeah, it's got a print. So yeah.
Yeah, I found something that when you called upon it to print, it brought up external, and external is GTK. So what happens is when you try to print to the printer with anything GTK with the current cups problem, it freezes.
It's I don't have that. I'm running GNOME. I don't have that issue here. But when I do file and print with Kate, it brings up a Qt dialog for me. I'm running Fedora and GNOME though, so
right. But I mean, if you tried with it depends whether you have the Debian fix, which is already out,
all right,
or you have an earlier version of cups which didn't have a problem. It was just the version 15.
Okay,
has the problem.
I guess that's part of the issue of being on set and being bleeding edge. So, oh Lord. I run Debian on a lot of stuff, but I always run stable.
Long term.
Yeah, Debian stable. On my desktop, I run Fedora just because Fedora is definitely my preferred desktop distribution. Either any desktop, they have it in KDE, GNOME, XFCE, Cinnamon, and a few others. But yeah, that's just become my preferred one. So, but yeah.
Yeah, this is my play machine. So I have two other machines that I use, and both of those will have stable. I guess I'm finished. I'm going to mute.
Don't you think though that there's going to be a fix to that, a patch for the cups thing?
If there is, it came out already. In my case, I don't want to use that because there is a Debian, and then there is a no systemd version of the Debian package. So I'm just going to wait a while for the no systemd version. That's only for my SID, and I don't use the SID for much except to see if something buggy is going to happen. I generally, where I'm on now is a machine that is 23, Antix 23, which corresponds to Debian 12. And when the no systemd version of Debian 13, Trixie, is ready, then I'll probably try to either upgrade or do a fresh install. The fresh install is so easy that most people who just, instead of upgrading, will do a fresh install when it comes to Antix. I don't know about other distros, whether you guys, when you go from Ubuntu based on Debian 12 to Debian 13, you just run an upgrade program and it takes care of everything nicely.
That's all I do on anything anymore. I don't wipe and reinstall unless I absolutely have to. So
I'm the other way around. I always reinstall.
I tend to lag behind. Like I know Trixie's been out a while, but there's some issues with it. And I have not. I've upgraded one machine or one VM, but and Fedora. I've gotten one. Fedora 43 is out, but I'm still 42 on most of my work machines. So,
yeah, I just went through an upgrade from 21, which corresponded to 11, to 12, and that was a real interesting experience. I think because of the customizations, you're advised not to in Antics because you can expect problems. And it took a long while to work through the conflicts, but finally I have everything installed that was supposed to be upgraded that I wanted to upgrade on that, and it does seem to be working. But it's enough of a thing that it makes me aware of how much easier it is to just do an install.
So I stay as close to standard everything as I can, so there's generally no effort, no, yeah.
Wise words.
Definitely.
Leander, what else you got going on?
Let's see. I heard somebody talking about tail scale earlier. I run WireGuard, which is what it's based on. But there's also a self-hosted version of that called Head Scale, strangely enough. I think tail scale, you have to use their remote or their node or whatever. Tail scale, you can set it up on your own, and it's open source. I've not done a lot personally with tech stuff the last couple of months. I've been busy. I've just been. I have taken down a lot of my stuff off the internet just because I'm getting more. I'm not quite to Ted K levels yet, but I'm getting more frustrated with the state of internet and technology, and I've like deleted my web server. I kind of deleted a lot of accounts and scrubbed a lot of it. I kind of with the AI, with the ID bills, I'm not, I was like, okay, these ID bills are going to start sliding down to where you're going to have to present your ID to go to anything anymore. I'm like, I don't want the papers. I don't want to be involved in the papers, please, AI slop internet, and kind of been backing off my uses of that. I've been playing more video games, like, offline. So that's been nice. I've got, I think Pete was talking about horses. I've got 312 hours in Uma Musume, which is a Japanese horse girl racing game, since August. Anyway, but I've learned a lot about race horses since then. Anyway, but that's been kind of my thing, is getting more, I'm kind of with Steve on my notion of AI stuff. I will say, if you want to use an LLM for some things, I would use one of the self-hosted ones, because the open weights like Win, DeepSeek, and there's a couple other ones out there now that you can run if you have strong enough hardware to do it. You can run locally, and those I kind of feel pretty okay with, that they aren't phoning home, they aren't recording your data. And they're specialized in certain tasks, but even then, my problem with them is less religious and more practical. In that I see what I call the GPS effect with those. And I think I've talked about that before, where the more people use them, the less they're able to think on their own, which is a problem. So anyway, that's kind of my take on those. I'm not a big fan of them either still. Trixie did come out. There are some weird bugs with it. Like I found, I still have my Git server, but it's internal, everything now. And I found that the certbot program I use for Let's Encrypt, doesn't have a package for Linode DNS in Trixie. So I had to swap those over to acme.sh, which is just another tool for generating signed, valid certificates. Yeah, so that's kind of it. I've been doing some more astronomy stuff recently, and some more astrophotography stuff, but just kind of keeping it to myself. I don't really post or talk about it. Like I said, I'm kind of I also have a couple of forums and email, a couple of old school forums that probably no one's ever looking at. I'm kind of backed off of the whole internet. It's it's interesting, and now that the RAM apocalypse is upon us, where I've been watching. There was a 32 gig kit of DDR5 we were tracking at work, and it went from $150 in August to $300 to $1,200 in like a span of like a week or two.
Wow.
It is. I really kind of am wondering if there's going to be so much compute and so many resources tied up in these data centers that they're going to get their money out of them. I'm like, are they going to try to, just have everybody use Chromebooks and all of your compute is going to be done off in the cloud, even if AI it implodes and turns into nothing? So that's kind of my thing lately is like, if you got any projects you want to get done, I hope you already have the RAM for it. So, but yeah, that's kind of it.
Have you seen what kind of RAM Chrome consumes, Leander?
Yeah.
I'm not sure a Chromebook is the answer.
I don't know either, but the whole last 20, 30 years have only been possible mostly largely because you've had cheap compute that people could have at home to experiment with and learn on. But mega corporations going to mega corporate, and we saw it with Adobe and Microsoft where they're just basically renting you the software now. And I'm like, man, if AI implodes, you're just going to have these empty data centers. And I'm like, everything's going to turn into software as a service. It's hopefully some competition opens up in that space. I know Micron pulled out of, and Micron's Crucial RAM was about the only thing I've bought for the last decade. Opens up, and there's some new people, some new companies start selling DIMMs to customers. Actually, I know from some industry contacts that most people buy machines with soldered on RAM nowadays, and they never upgrade them. They just throw them out and get a new machine. And so the Crucial, what I've heard, the Crucial exiting the consumer RAM business is not a sudden thing. They have been talking about it for at least the last year or two because it's a very much a dying market. Because most people don't do that anymore. So it actually Samsung and Samsung doesn't sell very large DIMMs to customers. Like you have to get if you want Samsung memory, you have to buy it from one of these remanufacturers over in China that takes the DRAM and solders it to a DIMM, and then that's of dubious quality. So I think we're going to end up where there's just the enthusiast market is just not enough to sustain that many DIMM and SODIMM manufacturers. And I'm kind of wondering if we're all going to be buying, if you are an enthusiast, it's going to be like skeezy, very cheaply made RAM from overseas somewhere, which is disturbing. And if you actually want a machine that's going to be stable, you're going to have to buy one with soldered on RAM. Because that's what they're retooling for is they're getting rid of their factories that make the SODIMM and then the DIMM form factors, and they're retooling them into HBM packaging and stuff like that. So it's not going to be like in a year they're going to be like, oops, made a mistake, and do it. They're throwing out the milling machine. So it's an interesting time. I think it's going to be the personal computing hobby it may be down to just Raspberry Pis, which if you can afford one, those have gone up 50% in price. So anyway, but that's all the doomerism I got. I've been a lot happier since I've been not participating in the internet too much. So, but yeah, that's kind of most of it. Work has been keeping me busy. But yeah.
Thanks, Leander. Any quick responses there?
That sounds pretty doom and gloom, Leander.
Yeah, I need a drink now. Thanks.
Yeah. It's times. What's that? There's a Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times. We are at interesting time. Like I said, I do have a couple of contacts at different OEMs, and they've been talking about. One of them the other night we were talking, and he was like, "Yeah, this is not Crucial. They've been looking at exiting consumer market. There's just not enough enthusiast dollars for them to." It's like, say you have 100 eggs, and you sell one egg for $1 each to restaurants for 80 eggs, right? And so then you've got 20 eggs left over, and you sell those to home people for 75 cents an egg just to get rid of them before they go bad. He's like, DRAM's kind of the same thing, where, you know, these standards and specs have a very limited lifespan. Most people don't buy upgradable machines anymore, he said, and the ones that do usually don't ever upgrade them before they're obsolete. You know, if you buy a DDR4 machine, you upgrade it in 5 years. Well, now we're on DDR5, and so that stock of DDR4 they have is kind of sitting around. And so, you know, now you've got effectively a customer coming by saying, I will pay you $1.10 for all of your eggs right now. And they're like, and so he said, and they're all kind of facing that, where like that percentage of people buying the SODIMM and DIMM replaceable memory was kept shrinking over time, and they weren't making, I mean, it's just the way she goes, I guess. So anyway, but it's just, it's interesting.
Well, I have two things. One, the short term is that I'm not going to live very long. So, I mean, I'm figuring maybe I'll make it to 90. And that's only going to be almost 6+ years. So I don't really have to worry about things for the long term. But optimistically for my grandchildren and great-grandchildren, I'm hoping that in 100 years, human beings will have figured out how to manage themselves well and make the world a good place for all. So those are the two viewpoints.
I'm right in that squishy middle where I'm going to have to live through the terrible times. So,
Leander, on the AI front, you sound like you are not at all bullish on that.
It's not going away. Like, I mean, if Dan was here, he'd probably have another opposing viewpoint. It's definitely not going away. I think the GPS is a good analogy. Nobody can read paper maps, and how many times do you hear a news story about somebody's like they drove into a pond or something because they were just listening to the GPS and weren't thinking. That's kind of what the AI stuff has become. Like I have a couple of, Megan has an older coworker. It's not that she's like 5 years older than me. She's not that much older, but who just sits there and listens to those weird fake AI generated court shows. I don't know how else to describe it. I thought TikTok was bad for brain rot. This is like a new level. See you later, Pete. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm. AI in the tool of a trained, smart person, I think, a specialized AI, a specialized LLM, and I agree with Steve, I don't think they're thinking at all. A specialized LLM is a great search and research tool in the hands of an appropriately trained individual. So if you're a programmer or a doctor and you're using it to like as like a quick search tool to find things or to do something or to format text, or it's a very nice convenience. The general purpose bots online that we have are too shallow, are too wrong, and all they do is, and I've seen it in the young kids especially, they take we had a student employee she chat GPT'd her way through our CS program and is now a manager at Google. And they have a policy now, if you're not doubling your output every 6 months, you're fired. So I'm just worried about that, like that generation of younger people who maybe don't have the 10 years of troubleshooting and thinking experience, just leaning right on the bot, and the bot is gossipable. And it's, suddenly they're going to be turning left into ponds, but it's going to be on everything, so that's my problem with it. Is it's, your brain is kind of like a muscle in that if you don't use it, it atrophies. We see that with attention spans of short-term videos, with everything being like, oh, we'll just have AI look at my grammar and change my wording and all of that. You don't build that muscle. So that gray matter or whatever. So that's kind of my concern with it. Again, in an appropriately trained person of an appropriately trained individual, I think they are very useful. I think they are handy. It's just that's like 10% of the population kind of thing. So, but yeah, that's my take on it.
That sounds reasonable.
Anything else for Leander?
I wanted to chime in on the AI again. It's interesting that Leander has described bringing computer-assisted experience back home in terms of like operating a game software, or in my case, I describe creating something with a data set using a software, and it's hosted on my own workstation. It's not something that is out there in the cloud. And that's very similar to, asking in your neighborhood who can repair a piece of furniture or build a piece of furniture locally, or is everyone going to go to IKEA to acquire a piece of furniture? Does it have to come in a container from China, or what happened to the factory locally that might have produced that piece of furniture in your town? And it all the parallels, like what about what about the internet as a repository for information that is gated only by certain service agents, rather than the local content that you can develop with software tools on your workstation that may be made available to the internet, but as Leander had described, he has actually taken down content because of the chore it is to maintain that content. So the overriding issue for me is AI can only be an assistant to points of active creation or active intelligence. And our points of active intelligence are in some ways being diminished and eclipsed by the cloud-based centralized sources of information. And AI can either be on your side of the fence assisting you with your creations locally, or AI can be out there as a promoter of the cloud, as the, what you get depends a lot on how much you are a point, how would I say, a source of creation, as well as a simple consumer, possibly hosted only by centralized paradigms. And it just seems to me that we're in a crisis between the tremendous built up consumerism, where everyone has the opportunity to be a consumer to such a great extent that they quit being a local source of any form of creation. And so it's kind of like we need the millions of points of light in localities.
Yeah, I agree, Rusty. I think there's it's one of the things that have come up now in talking about AI training, is more content is either being, like me, just removing it because I'm done fighting with these things, or going into private communities online, like private Discord rooms, where it's just not generally available to the public. Of course, I'm sure Discord's going to eventually start selling their content to LLMs to be trained with, but nobody uses IRC anymore, it seems like. But it is, yeah, and that's a problem that's been brought up, is that, you know, what happens when you get these LLMs that are just getting retrained on their own slop? Like, you know, a lot of stuff that's on the internet now is publicly available is LLM generated, and so it's kind of it's recycling its own output, and so it's a very yeah, it's a good point, and I don't know what the answer is there. Um, if you put your stuff online but put up barriers, and Cloudflare was talking about this last week in one of their blog posts about how if you put up enough barriers, like to LLMs, from to prevent them from like downing your site and overloading your web server and scraping your stuff, and you're also blocking Google, which is the main way people discover anything. So, you know, you're kind of not being discovered. But then if you let the LLM ingest it, you're not being discovered anyway, because, you know, it's just going to regurgitate what you said. It'll molest it and then regurgitate it, as I like to say. And it's an interesting problem. I don't know. It's I'm not as doom and gloom as I think. I'm just like, until we get some sort of government controls or regulations or something around the way these companies are behaving, I don't want to. I'm not interested, as I said before, I'm not interested in being digital mulch for their machines. So trying to keep it off of there. And, you know, looking at my website's data and all that stuff, it was, after I managed to finally get the bots knocked down, it was like nobody was looking at it. Nobody goes off of the big social media sites anymore. Nobody leaves Reddit, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, depending on your YouTube. It's the other one. Nobody really leaves those big sites anymore. So I don't know. It's an interesting question. I kind of agree. I don't want to spend too long talking about it because I can yap. But anyway.
All right, thanks, Leander. So I wanted to spend some time talking about some fun stuff I've been doing. I pulled out my Raspberry Pi, you know, blew the dust off of it. It was still pretty much in the state of being a GPS time server, which I presented on like years ago. So I wiped it, yanked the cables off of it, and installed Trixie on it. So I've been doing like music oriented stuff, like synthesizer stuff. And one minor frustration is there doesn't seem to be like an easy way to run like a real time kernel. You have to like compile it yourself, which, I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but like, you know, most things I can usually just like install a package for a kernel that's, you know, low latency or real time, and that's not something I could super easily do on the standard Raspberry Pi installation. One thing I did do is I installed, as I always do, the lightest version of the Raspberry Pi OS. And then I got a little frustrated and then installed the heavier version, and then figured some things out and went back to the lighter version because, again, I'm a perfectionist, and largely figured out most things. But basically, it was around the fact that the standard version has Pipewire already installed. The light version, you have to install it, and there's not like a clear set of you install this, install this, install this, and enable and start these things. I sort of figured it out, but did not quite. Still not sure I know exactly what things I've done to make it work. So at some point, I'll probably start from scratch again and try to see if I do indeed know those things. I did want to sort of demonstrate a couple things just because, for one, I want to do a bit of an experiment to see if it works. So I'm going to share my screen, hopefully. So let me know if folks can now see my screen. Okay, so I'm going to show. I have been messing around with various some open source, some not open source applications. Like this one is Reaper, and this is a paid for piece of software. I'm still evaluating it. I actually do plan to buy the thing because it is quite cool. And this is a digital audio workstation, but and this one here is basically a digital analog modeling synthesizer with just a ton of options. So one thing I wanted to do is Pipewire has the concept of a patch bay, which Jack before it also had. And I am curious on, I've always wondered how easily I could get audio into these meetings and if it's something I could do through the patch bay. So one thing I'm going to try to do is I'm going to take the output from that Surge synthesizer and I'm going to put it into this Chrome input, similarly to I have this input from my headset. So let me know, for one, can y'all still hear me now that I've made this change?
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm curious, can you hear this?
No.
Okay, well, that don't work. So it's probably the browser not allowing it. So let's see if that is something I can quickly do, or if it's something, I don't know. I don't
Brent,
feel like
Brent,
struggling with it. Yes.
does this basically require Jack as an intermediary, or Jack is not required at all when using Pipewire and using the patch?
On my main system, I do have Jack, but I shouldn't be theoretically using Jack. I should be using Pipewire Jack, the emulation stuff.
Gotcha.
And yeah, so that's what should be going on here. So, all right, like I said, I'm not going to belabor that. I was just curious if it was that easy. It doesn't seem to be that easy. Nothing is quite that easy. So what I did is I set up Pipewire, and you can do a very similar thing with PWLink. So here I have set, these are the inputs and the outputs, and I have basically set the output for a MIDI box I have, which creates basically 3 virtual MIDI segments that you can use. And then I've set the first one, which I have set the routing in the MIDI router to go to basically be available from every MIDI source that I have there. So if I have like a keyboard or a sequencer, they are all outputted on this MIDI 1. And then I'm going to take the MIDI 1 and send it to a synthesizer, which is this set B free. And so I did PWLink 5783. And in this window is running that set B3, which is a organ emulator. So it's pretending to be Hammond B3. So that does work. And one problem I do have is I have USB audio, which has a significant amount latency. So I'm contemplating getting an audio hat for a better quality better quality and a lower latency a latency solution. So if I press a key on my keyboard, which I think it is working over here, yes, it is. There's a little bit of lag. It's not super noticeable, but if I were a musician, I'm sure it would be very noticeable. Just that sort of a few more milliseconds that then would be tolerable. So I just wanted to show off some stuff there, not really a specific thing, but just music things. There's just so much out there in the audio world that you can do. You could, using a tool like Reaper or some other tools, including Ardor, which is completely free, free as in beer, and free as in speech as well as free as in beer. You can basically create entire compositions within those ecosystems if you have the the talent, which I do not do. I do not have such talent, but it is fun to play with the tools nonetheless. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And we are about 5 minutes away from time. Let's see if there's anything else I had to say about anything else. I don't believe so.
Brent, what were you said Reaper, and what was the other one that you mentioned?
There are several digital audio workstations for Linux. Ardor is ARDOUR is fairly popular, and it's fully open source and available, no strings attached. Reaper is kind of like the WinZip of the DAW world in that they will let you use it indefinitely without payment. But that's just kind of like where are your morals in that realm, right? It is paid software though. It's basically trialware, but it is fully functional as trialware. And then there are other things like LMMS. It has been around for a while, and there's more that are just not coming to mind right now. LMMS is also open source. But yeah, they all have their strengths and weaknesses. I started out with Ardor because I do really prefer to use open source software whenever possible. And I was doing this little project that I was trying to complete in Ardor, and I just was starting to run into issues. And then I started doing it in Reaper and was basically freed up. Like everything just came together. So for me, Reaper works better, but other people, their mileage may vary. And of course, there are other commercial DAWs out there that run on Linux or on other operating systems. Obviously, Mac is a big platform for creative types. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun with it, and like I said, I really do plan this holiday season to throw some money Reaper's way, because I haven't really been using it much in the last few months, but I'm sure I will come back to it for various things. So anything else before we part?
That's all I got. Sorry, I didn't mean to sound so depressive earlier. I was just like, man, it's been a weird.
Well, I mean, reality is reality, isn't it?
So
or whether it's real or artificial reality.
I still have a lot of fun, and just man, it is. If you think you don't hate AI enough, yeah, you don't hate AI enough. Trust me, it's now that it's ruining all of my hobbies completely. Yeah. Come on, bubble pop. So
You're gonna turn Luddite on us, Leanne?
Turn. I think I've been that for a while, but at least according to a lot of people I know. But
Oh, okay. I'd just say curmudgeonly.
He hasn't started referring to us as the English yet.
Yeah.
I have. My wife needs a new laptop, and I have convinced her to buy a framework. So she still has to run Windows. We were looking at a Mac because I do like the ARM processors in those, and I prefer Mac OS to Windows if you're going to run a proprietary operating system. But she really wants to stick with Windows. But we're ordering a framework 13, which is, if you haven't heard of them, they are the ones that are still all take apart. You can replace everything in them. So that'll probably be my next laptop too when I need a new one, is a framework 13. So, but yeah, pretty excited about getting that. I really like that company. I like their philosophy on their hardware there. So yeah, I'll let you know how it goes.
The laptops that I use on a daily basis, this one and another one, are at least 10 years old, if not older. But they still function well and no lag times. No, I did put SSDs in all of them, or the cigar drive things in all of them.
Hardware is staying good longer. It depends on what you do, and how hard you flog it. It's like I post like some of the stuff I do with like that Andromeda Galaxy image I posted was an hour and some change of images. So you really need some like CPU and RAM to stack those images, especially when they're, 20, 40 megapixel DSLR images. And so it depends on what you do. And no joke, Chrome is a RAM hog. So hopefully you guys have enough.
That's an impressive picture you took there. Really.
Thank you. I was actually, and continuing my theme of sponsored by the dump, that camera I used on that, our media services, or somebody was throwing out a bunch of old Nikon, entry-level Nikon cameras, and I pulled one out of the dump and cleaned it up, cleaned the sensor off, hooked it to my telescope, and that is with a free dump camera. So got a battery off Amazon for it for $10 and I've got enough of these SD cards laying around, stuck it in there, and away you go. So you can't beat free. Even though I've got much better cameras, I was like, well, let's see what I can do with the free camera I got out of the dump. So yep. Anyway, good to see you guys. I'll shut up now.
Yeah. Thanks all. Happy New Year. See you in January. Have a happy holiday season.